You're listening to the Icandemy Podcast, the podcast for people who can but don't know how. This is where you get actionable steps to turn vague dreams into blissful realities. And I'm your host, Omoshola Victoria Wolabi. So let's get started. Do you ever think to yourself, I want to be able to impact lives, leave an imprint in this world, but you feel isolated, stuck, unclear on how to show up or get started? If you've answered yes to this question, I want to extend a very special invitation to you to join us on our upcoming workshop, the Courageous Confidence Workshop. This workshop is live, where we get to work together on that call so that you can crack the confidence code, awaken your inner giant, show up authentically, and attract your tribe. Head on over to offers.icandemy.org/courageous. Again, it's offers.icandemy.org/courageous. You'll find the links in the show notes below. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Icandemy Podcast. How you all doing? How was your week? I hope you have been looking after yourself. Thank you so much for always coming back. I really do not take that for granted. I appreciate every single one of you so much. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about taking charge. How do we avoid fear and negative thought patterns from controlling our mind, essentially? On the last episode, I talked about the kinds of fear that we must overcome. And I shared a story from the Harry Potter series on how J.K. Rowling tries to describe the spirit of fear. She describes the spirit of fear as Bogart, a shape-shifting creature that will assume the form of whatever frightens the person who encounters it, right? So generally, the more fearful a person is, the more susceptible they will be to Bogart. And Bogart feeds on our innermost fear, right? It seems to be generated and sustained by human emotions. And this is essentially how J.K. Rowling describes Bogart. And when the Bible says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, God has not given us this shape-shifting creature, right? I want you to always look at it from that lens. But J.K. Rowling does not stop there. She gives us the antidote of this shape-shifting Bogart creature. And that's what I want to talk about today. What's the antidote to fear? How do we take charge, right? And stop this negative thought patterns from controlling our mind. So defeating Bogart, J.K. Rowling gives us the formula for defeating Bogart. And I'm going to touch on that. And this is from her website. She gives us the antidote. She says, Bogart is not and never has been truly alive. The spell that defeats Bogart involves making the creature into a figure of fun so that fear can be dispelled in amusement. If the caster is able to laugh loud at Bogart, it will disappear at once. The incantation is ridiculous, and the intention is to force Bogart to assume a less threatening and hopefully comical form. End of quote. What fascinates me about this? Like I said in the last episode, J.K. Rowling did not come up with this concept. This is something that happened in the Bible, right? And I used the story of Job as a perfect illustration of how Job had his own Bogart, and Bogart literally shifted itself into all of Job's fears and manifested itself that way. If only he had this antidote. Ridiculous. Why am I even scared of losing my children when I serve a living God? Ridiculous. Why am I scared of losing my wealth when the Lord has blessed me? I didn't bless myself. Ridiculous. Laughing in the face of this irrational fears that control us is the antidote. So J.K. Rowling gives us the antidote for Bogart, but today I want to give you the antidote for how to avoid fear and negative thought patterns from controlling our mind, because a fearful person cannot do anything. It gets worse. The more fearful you are, the more crippled we become from going forward and doing things and living the life we truly desire. And we know deep down inside our hearts that we are capable of accomplishing for ourselves with the help of God and to the glory of God. So the truth is, as J.K. Rowling rightly said, this Bogart of a thing is not and never has been truly alive. Yes, God says he did not give us the spirit of fear. So where did we get it from? So when fear comes, the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of the unknown, just laugh in its face and say, you know what? You can just scoot on over. Why should I be afraid of failing? If I do it and I don't succeed, like Aliyah said, if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself up and try again. You can dust it up and try again. Do that. Like, dust yourself up and try again. What's the big deal? You would have definitely learned something. I mean, what did Thomas Edison say? I have learned 1,000 ways not to make the light bulb, and the 1,001 way worked. Big deal. We're still enjoying that invention till today, right? So that's one way to defeat the spirit of fear. Now, why is it important? Like I said in the last episode, overcoming fear, one of the major tools that we have for overcoming fear is education. Educating yourself. Why education? Because education dispels ignorance. Education provides stability. Education will increase your confidence over a certain issue or subject or problem, right? The application of that education, that's the knowledge that you get from education, is what dissipates fear, not just the education itself. So when you know something and you don't apply what you know, the problem remains. So when I say education, it's not enough that we just educate ourselves. We have to apply what we have learned, test it, try it. Wake up tomorrow and say, you know what? I command today to the glory of God. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. I move forward in confidence and in faith. The day was made for me. I will go out and take one step towards the purpose and the life God has called me to. Period. And you go and enjoy yourself. Okay, family, let's face it. We've all felt pain. We've suffered the losses. You know what it's like to want something so bad, but not see a path to its accomplishment. The question, however, is, do you know how to pick yourself up and move on despite what has happened? This is what I share with you inside of my new book, Good Medicine for the Crushed Spirit, a practical guide to helping you find purpose when adversity strikes. Inside this book, you will find personal stories, relatable biblical tales, and anecdotes that prove you are never alone in your despair. I will inspire you to turn pain, discomfort, disappointment, or setbacks into something positive that works for you. So if you're ready to change your life in meaningful and purposeful ways, get your copy of this book today and let the transformation begin. It's not enough that we know these things and we never apply it, right? So one thing is it's not just educating ourselves. We need to also apply that education, because the will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do those things. So if you have a desire to maybe start a business or look for a higher paying job or educate yourself, the reason why you have that desire or that will, it springs from a place within you. There's a knowledge that you can do those things. So when you know the truth, you speak the truth, then you become a truthful witness to that you want. So knowing the truth means you know in your heart, even if nobody knows it. I remember when I was back home and I used to tell people then, I was a teenager. I would say, you know what, I'm going to study overseas and get my first degree overseas. People laughed in my face. And you know what? They were right. I did not look like it. My dad was dead. We were barely even eating 3 square meals a day. And you talk about traveling overseas to get a degree. Really? But I knew it in my heart. I don't know where that courage came from to actually verbalize such a thing. But I knew it in my heart that I was not going to get my first degree in my country. I was going to get it in another country. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know how the money was going to come. I didn't know any of those things. But because I knew the truth, and you know the truth, you know deep down inside of you that there's something more to the you that you see today. I knew that. So I spoke it. So when you know the truth, you speak it. And today I am a truthful witness because I do have a foreign degree. My bachelor's degree came from a foreign university. Today I am a truthful witness to that. So I want to encourage you to start speaking things that are not as though they are. You're not lying. It's in the Bible. That faith is the evidence of what we hope for. The things that we do not see that we hope for. Faith is that evidence that we have it. I'm not saying go about telling lies and saying things that you are not, you are not, like you see some of these people doing on social media, lying and standing in front of other people's cars and saying this is your car. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the truth from the core of who you are. Because look, the worst person to fool is yourself. If I didn't feel that me uttering that statement of getting my degree overseas was true, I would be fooling myself, right? Even though I did not know how it was going to happen, I would be fooling myself. So what I want you to understand is when you know the truth, you speak the truth, you become a truthful witness. Now, let's talk about negative thought patterns, right? What are negative thought patterns? Negative thought patterns refer to a repeated way of thinking negatively about yourself and your environment. So you have that loop in your mind. It keeps looping over and over again. Negative thought patterns. It refers to that repeated way of constantly thinking negatively about yourself and your environment. Negative thought patterns are often triggered by underlying fears, shame, sadness, guilt, anxiety. They are triggered by those things. Now, negative thought patterns, I want to tell you how to show you how to identify negative thought patterns. I want to bring it to your awareness so you understand what's happening to you when it shows up. Negative thought patterns are intrusive. They are often automatic, like without any effort. They can be loop-like in nature. So you can just be sitting down, right? And you just think like, oh, what if this house collapsed? Negative thought pattern. You didn't ask for it. It just, boom, invades your mind, invades your space. Another characteristics that to be aware of is they can be misleading. They are not factual and they are often wrong. Another one is they are unproductive. They get in the way of us enjoying life by distorting our perception of reality, usually in a negative way. I remember one time my husband and my son had to travel to another country and they were not home. And I was just in the kitchen, I was just first, I was dancing and happy and cooking. Boom, this thought just comes in my mind. What if your husband and your son never come back? Negative thought pattern. It intruded my mind, right? And it was misleading because what fact is there to support that thought at that moment? I just spoke to them, they were fine, right? And it's unproductive. Me harboring that thought in my mind ruined my day, the whole day. But I had to take control because I knew how to take control. I said, you know what? Boom. Ridiculous. Get out of my mind, My son and my husband are safe because their life is not their own. They belong to Jesus and they will be back safely. Because this family is a template for God to do wonders in the earth. We have been created as a sign and a wonder. And that was how I spoke. Remember what I said in the last episode? You cannot overcome, these thoughts with silence. You have to speak. Okay? Now, those are the negative thought patterns. So bear this in mind. They are intrusive. They are misleading. They are often unproductive, right? Now, how do you overcome the negative thought patterns? You need to be aware. Remember, I said they're intrusive. So when they intrude your space, you have to pay attention and catch those thoughts when they come up, right? The Bible tells us that we must capture those thoughts and any imagination or pretension that raises itself up against the knowledge of who God is in our life. We must capture it, hold it captive, and submit it in obedience to Christ Jesus. Amen? I don't want to preach today. Let's continue. Indulge me for a bit, right? So you must be aware. Number one, you must be aware. You must pay attention and catch those thoughts when they come up. Number two, you challenge the thoughts. Remember, one of the characteristics there is they are misleading. So it's a lie. It's misleading. So the antidote for that is you challenge it. You ask empowering questions like, is this thought true? Is there a basis for this negative belief? Is this thought empowering me, or is it making me powerless? Like, I had to ask myself, look, I was here dancing and cooking. Now I'm thinking this kind of thought and it's ruining my day. No. I can't allow this thought to remain. And I casted it out, right? And the third thing that you do to overcome this type of thought pattern is you weave the thread. You examine your core beliefs and you trace them back to the critical incident that may have occurred to make you believe what you believe today. When did you start thinking like this? What made you believe that? What happened? In the case of this, the example I just gave you when my husband and my son traveled, I wove the thread. When I wove the thread, why would I think like that? It's because my dad died in a car accident. He traveled and never came back. So because my husband and my son traveled, that's why that thought invaded my mind, because I had that, oh, what if the same thing happens? But no. The same thing cannot happen, because affliction will not arise a second time, right? That's why when you are cognizant, you are aware, you introspect and try and find the exact moment. Where is this thread, the thread of this negative thought? Where is it connected to and where is it coming from? And that is how we overcome, how we avoid fear and negative thought patterns from controlling your mind. Because your mind is your womb for ideas. It's your womb. That's where you incubate things. Do not let fear or negative thought patterns control that womb that incubates your groundbreaking ideas that we need. We're waiting for you to manifest that, because we need to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And I hope you enjoy it just the way I've enjoyed recording it for you. Thank you so much. And until the next episode, keep on shining. This episode is sponsored by our very own Mogul Mindset Training. Are you ready to embrace new experiences, see opportunities where you thought there was none, and totally surprise yourself? Because you can, by unleashing the power of your mind. Mogul Mindset System is a 5-step system that helps you retrain your mind to work with you and not against you, so you can awaken your inner giant, 10x your impact, your income, and become truly unstoppable. The truth is, you, my friend, have a superpower, your creative genius. And I'm here to make that power multiply manyfold so you can get past fear, self-doubt, and finally start working and thriving in your life and business. Ready to unleash your superpowers? I thought you would. Head over to mogul.icandemy.org. That's mogul.icandemy.org to learn more. So there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And for more content like this, follow us on our social media handles. On Facebook, it's at Icandemy, the Facebook page. On Instagram, it's at Icandemy. Or come say hello over on my personal page. On Instagram, it's at Omoshola Speaks. On Facebook, it's Victoria Wolabi. Feel free to reach out, introduce yourself, say hello. I love meeting you. And if you have any stories that you feel will inspire another woman to action, I want to hear from you. I really do. I love hearing from you. Send me an email to hello@icandemy.org. So it's hello@icandemy.org.